that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
All right, so it's a longer clip, but there was a lot there, right? We're talking about, do Americans have the necessary skills in these high-tech environments? I think that's ultimately what he's getting at. And what do you do about H-1Bs? So this is a hugely contentious issue. There's people of good faith on both sides of it. Joe Bob, you're not white. What's your take on it?
Well,
it's the second time I said that, but I didn't get a reaction. The first
hold on, let me put a qualifier in there as Libs would. As the son of an immigrant, I will say this. Can we have two thoughts in our head at one time? I think this audience is smart enough to be able to have two thoughts simultaneously. Yes, yeah. One, yes, we want these jobs to go to Americans. We want these jobs to go to American citizens. And at the same time, I think this is one of Charlie's biggest points when he wrote this book called College is a Scam, saying we're not educating the people in this country in the way that is going to be beneficial to their future jobs in this country. So on one hand, I want all these jobs to go to American people. On the other hand, we got to fix our education system so that these people can be qualified, because that really seems to be Trump's main point there, is that, well, we don't have enough qualified people to do all of these jobs. And I want those people to be qualified and be Americans. But the problem is our university system and our education system is so bogged down with liberal woke nonsense that we unfortunately don't, sometimes, and Trump would say it, don't have the talent. And I think that's possible, but it's going to take reevaluating where our education system is in order to bring Americans up to speed so we don't need to farm out or outsource any of these jobs.
Well, I completely agree. We were big advocates when Charlie was around of trade schools, of tech trade schools. I think there is a misalignment between our higher education system and the jobs that exist in the economy. There is absolutely truth to that. If we're bringing in people, training foreigners to do jobs, the only way to keep that talent in-house is to let them live here. And I think the base does not want that. The base wants American-born kids to get American-made jobs. That's almost as simple as that. Rita says, I trust Trump's estimation. I also believe that a plan to employ more Americans in these jobs is possible. Patience will be required. Erica says, I think it's probably a necessity, unfortunately. We need China to stop sending fentanyl and to buy our goods. So this was the trade-off. If not necessarily the safest, but we need the talent. So with extensive screening, it might help until we can phase this out. Susan says, love y'all, but Trump is wrong. So it was a little misleading. It's love y'all. That's the subject line. And then it says, Trump is wrong. Americans can do anything they set their minds to. Thank you for what y'all's do, I think.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. And so we have to look at this through a lens here where President Trump probably could have said it a different way. I mean, during World War II, you had wives literally building tanks and weapons. Americans are resilient. We will figure it out, and we are hard workers, and there's nothing that will stop us from achieving success. But then on the second hand, our universities are failing students in America. They're not producing the best students. And we are very impressive as Americans, but our universities and our education systems are not doing a great job educating us.
It's institutional capture.
It is.
So our institutions have been captured by the woke, meritless, DEI left, and so excellence necessarily will be degraded if and when you inject those ideologies into our institutions. So what you need better institutions. If I'm telling you, mark my words, Mikey McCoy, if we just deported all the student visa holders or all of these foreign H-1B holders, and all these corporations, who are the ones that are talking to Trump right now and talking to the admin, we need this, we need that, we would find a way. It would be painful, and we would find a way. So maybe there is a phase out that makes sense, but we got to phase this out. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and on top of that, too, I mean, President Trump wants the best for America. And so he's looking at this through a lens that we probably aren't, which is just, if the world has the best scientists and engineers, I want the best here in America. And so he's maybe just saying it a different way than we would like him to. I think we give him another opportunity to kind of clarify that. But look, we Americans are resilient. I bet on us 10 times
You
out of 10.
never bet against America.
Never
This
bet
is
against
H.
America.
George. I'm an immigrant, and I'm against the importation of most of the engineers working in Silicon Valley. For years, I've watched qualified engineers being passed over for cheaper imported workers, primarily from India. Well, the India thing is like another big touch point with the op-ed, because India is, by far and away, I think it's like 70% of the H-1Bs are held by Indians.
Yeah,
You got 1.5 billion Indians on the planet, and a lot of them want to come here and work.
And also just pretending to be something he's not. He can't get his act together. And I'm supposed to believe that Gavin Newsom just turned a blind eye to Antifa. This is the same Gavin Newsom that stopped ICE agents and federal agents from coming into California, but can't stop Antifa from attacking our attendees at our event. I want justice for this. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to this.
Yeah.
I want to find out who's paying these Antifa people. I want to find out who they are. I want every single one of them arrested who have broken a law. I want justice for this. I am upset. I am mad. This has been 2 months after this happened, and I do not want Antifa at our events like this.
Yeah. Rob, what's your take on that?
I wish you would have been with me on Fox News this morning. You said way better than anything I said this morning. No, I think what we have to do is we need to have accountability. We need to find out who's funding this. And these are domestic terrorists. I mean, it's the very definition of what terrorism is. It's frightening other people. These are American students. These are people at a university, and they have their rights. And these rights, their civil rights are being impeded when you are preventing them from doing their expression of free speech, which is the ability to not just talk, but to hear. And that is a blatant violation of civil rights violation. And somebody needs to be held accountable. Absolutely.
Well,
now, as far as,
go ahead.
Our response has to be as a reflection of God's light. And that's what Charlie was. And that's what I was so humbled when I was at university with Charlie, because he was there for the love of these kids, because he knew where the future was. He knew that if we lose these kids, we lose everything. And we have to have these kids. And so while the left wants to silence us, it just makes us, I mean, look at all the publicity from yesterday. I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who is not, in a political echo chamber of MSNBC and the liberal left, who the real fascists are. We love America and the love of country, and they try to group us into some sort of weird, nationalistic negativity. Well, nationalism in its expansion is negative. That's true. But nationalism, when your country is under threat, is necessary. We have to love our country and protect our country. So, in that sense, this is a healthy nationalism, and supporting our kids, young people, to be able to express themselves and to hear opposing viewpoints. And the University of Berkeley has proven themselves to be the shamefully anti-free speech. And for the university that really spoke to and started the university free speech movement for all speech, not just, they specifically said not left or right, but for all speech. It is an absolute shame on that university. And historians will look back at this moment as the most shameful moment in the history of the University of Berkeley.
To influence the race. Patel had said in June that the FBI had located documents which detail, quote, alarming allegations related to the 2020 U.S. election, including allegations of interference by the CCP. And meanwhile, relatedly, President Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for $1 billion over its edit of his January 6th speech in a documentary that aired right before the 2024 presidential election. In a letter to the BBC, President Trump's legal team demands the company immediately retract the documentary by this Friday, November 14th.
Skalandakis assigned himself to the job. Skalandakis is the director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, a bipartisan group of legal experts from across the state. He's replacing Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney who started the case and was later disqualified for an improper relationship with the lead prosecutor. Skalandakis previously said he could also take the case himself if he could not find another prosecutor to take it on. And millions of Americans are facing higher health insurance premiums. In 2 months, COVID-era tax subsidies for Obamacare are set to expire. Lawmakers are weighing how to address the higher costs. President Trump is proposing Trump Care. NTD's Melina Weisskopf tells us more.
With a freshly reopened government, lawmakers have 2 months to find a path forward on health care. President Trump says he's committed to addressing the issue.
We want a healthcare system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time.
COVID-era tax subsidies, which made Obamacare more affordable, will expire on January 1st.
I expect Republicans to be at the table in the next few weeks. I expect the White House to be at the table. And if they do choose not to come to the table, they can own the disastrous premium increases that will continue to rise.
Senators are expected to vote on an Obamacare extension in December. Bipartisan negotiations are underway.
Terminate in January. It won't be there in January.
To address that crisis in a bipartisan way. These senators are not interested in political games. They're interested in finding real ways to address health care costs for American families.
While talks look more promising in the Senate,